Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. It has been so long since I actually sat in front of the camera and filmed a video for you guys, and I am so excited. So much has happened in the last month. I think I've only posted 2 videos out of 4 weeks, and those were pre-recorded videos because I was on vacation for 2 weeks with my family. It was a wonderful time. We got to go to a lake and then to the beach, and it was super fun. And then after that, pretty much immediately, I got sick. And then that same week, I went to camp out in Glorieta, New Mexico. So it has been a whirlwind of a month. But the thing about me being gone on all these trips was that I actually spent a ton of money on books. So this is the first month I've really been able to do a book haul. Some of these books are ones that I did purchase previously, but they just came out and I received them. So that's going to be part of this also. And I visited so many different half-price books this month. I went to a special bookstore in my city, so I'm really excited to show you guys all of these books. Some of them I've already read, but I'm not going to give any spoilers for my recap. That will probably come out next week. I might have to split that into 2 videos because it's going to be a long recap. I think I read a lot this month, but we'll see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 books that I have bought this month. I think this is the most books I've ever bought in 1 month. I just kept finding all these things that were on my want to buy list on Goodreads, and I kept going to different half-price books and finding them for good deals and buying them. So let's jump in to, I'll just start at the top of the stack because it's a big stack and I don't want to mess it up. So the first one is one that I actually pre-ordered a couple of months ago, and it came in the mail while I was on vacation, so that was really exciting to come back to, and it is By Way of the Moonlight by Elizabeth Musser. So I posted about this on my Instagram, being really excited for it. There's actually someone at our church who knows this author, so that was really cool. Honestly, I didn't read the description at all before buying it. I just thought it was a really pretty cover. I kind of knew who the author was, so I just went for it and bought it, and it was a pretty good price. So the back of the book says, 2 courageous young women, tied together by blood and shared passion, will risk everything to save what they love most. So basically, I think it has a dual timeline, like a granddaughter and then kind of going back to her grandmother in World War II and trying to save the family estate. I think it's based off of some accurate things that happened in the author's life, so I'm really excited to read that one. I like stuff about World War II. And I have read 1 book by this author so far and absolutely loved it, but it's a little bit of a spoiler. So I think this is going to be a very promising book. And then the next 2 that I got were both from half-price books. So I actually got the second one first, and then I found the first one later on at half-price books. So it is the York series. So I got The Clockwork Ghost first, and then The Shadow Cipher. I have read this one so far. This is the first book in the series. And let me tell you, this is a chunk of a book. It's like 470 pages. And I'm just going to tell you, please don't go buy this and wait for my review on it, okay? Even though I really didn't like that book, I am going to try to read the second one just because I did buy it. And it's a pretty quick read. It's a YA read. And I'd like to see if the second one maybe gets better, but I don't know. Basically, the storyline is these really smart people back in the late 1700s, they supposedly built New York and built a cipher into all the buildings and everything, this clue that people for hundreds of years have been trying to figure out. And these kids in like modern times are getting pretty far on the cipher and figuring things out. You don't really reach a conclusion by the end of the book, but I won't give too many spoilers on that. So that's kind of why I'm reading the second one, just to see where the storyline is going. It's a great concept and really fun, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend you go buy these books. Okay, then the next ones I got, I actually found 2 Elizabeth Musser books at our library, and my city has a bookstore in the basement. So I got When I Close My Eyes and The Sweetest Thing. Again, I pretty much know nothing about these books. I just bought them because I knew the author, and they were $1 each. So I was really excited about that. So When I Close My Eyes, I've read like the first page of this, and I can't really read the back of it because there's a sticker over it, but something about a sniper, basically a hitman, and it has some detectives and a girl's mother's tormented past, and it takes place in North Carolina and the Mediterranean Sea. It tells the story of two families struggling with dysfunction and finding that love is stronger than death. So just based off of the cover and what I can read of the description and what I know about the author, I think it's going to be a really fun book to read. And I've seen, based off of what I've read of this author, that she really likes to hit all the hard topics. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. And then the other one that I got from there is The Sweetest Thing. It's a touching story of friendship and faith. Her characters are as real and as forgettable as the friends I grew up with. That's by Lynn Austen, who wrote a lot of historical fiction that I've read. Let's see. Anne Marie Singleton's world is defined by security of family, the camaraderie of friends at an exclusive Atlanta girls' school, and an enviable social life. She isn't looking for new friends when Mary Dobbs Diller arrives from Chicago. Besides, Dobbs, the passionate and fiercely individualistic daughter of an itinerant minister, is her opposite in every way. But just as the Great Depression collides disastrously with Perry's well-ordered life, friendship blossoms, a friendship that will be tested by jealousy, betrayal, and family secrets. With her endearing characters and poignant storyline, Atlanta native Elizabeth Musser vividly recreates the charm of her beloved city amid the poverty and plenty that shaped the 1930s. Oh, this one looks so good. So this one's more of a historical fiction one than necessarily what the author knew. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It's so hard to choose which one I'm going to read next, because I already have a bunch of books I want to read, and then I bought all these books, and I have to choose which ones I want to read. It's a terrible dilemma to have. Okay, then I guess we'll do the other Elizabeth Musser books. So now I own 5 Elizabeth Musser. We have The Swan House, and this one I think is a part of a trilogy that won an award. It got it's a national bestseller. And I don't really know the storyline of this one. Let's see. Mary Swan Middleton has always taken for granted the advantage of her family wealth, but a tragedy that touches all of Atlanta sends her reeling in grief. When the family maid challenges her to reach out to the less fortunate as a way to ease her own pain, Mary Swan meets Carl, and everything changes. For although Carl is her opposite in nearly every way, he has something her privileged life could not give her, and when she seeks his help to uncover a mystery, she learns far more than she ever could have imagined. Also looks like an amazing storyline. I'm excited to read this one and see if I think there's 2 other books. See if I want to continue the series, which I probably will, but it looks really good. And then the only one that I have read of hers so far is Words Unspoken, and this is a long book. It took me a couple of days to read, but I was on vacation, so I read it pretty quickly, and it was 400 pages, and it was such good writing. I really loved it, but I'll talk about that more in another video. This one is about a bunch of different characters. She has all these different perspectives that she kind of weaves together. It's about Lissa Randall, and she has an accident, and she is kind of struggling with learning how to drive again. And then there's this guy who has a driving school, and there's a girl in France, and all these different characters that were just really cool to get to know, and I enjoyed reading this book and how it all intertwined together. And then another book that I found at Half Price Books one time, which I don't know if I'll actually end up reading this anytime soon, but is The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. I've read a couple of Edith Wharton books so far, and the writing was definitely great, but I didn't necessarily like the topics that they were written on, so we'll see how quickly I get to actually reading this, but it was a pretty good price, and it was on my want to read, so I went ahead and just bought it, and I've heard that this is one of the best ones that she wrote, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get to it. It's basically about this girl who knows that she must marry because she's 29, and she's bored by the guy that she's supposed to marry and meets someone else. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. We'll see. And then I have posted about this one on Instagram, but I got the box set of Ruta Sepetys because I read Fountains of Silence a couple of months ago and really loved it. So I went ahead and got her set of 4 that she had, but I did take out one of them because I'm not interested in the topic at all, and I started it and the writing wasn't very good and it didn't seem like she did as much research, so I took out of the easy. But the other 3 are these 3. So I've read Fountains of Silence or listened to it, but I definitely want to read it again because it's just so good. And then Between Shades of Grey, I read that one while on vacation. It is about Lithuania, yeah, a family from Lithuania, and the Soviet secret police come and take her and her family to Siberia, and so it's basically just like the long trip all the way from Lithuania to Siberia to be stuck in the camps, and it was really interesting just learning about a piece of history that we don't really know about. Same thing with Fountains of Silence. It's about Spain and the children who were stolen under Franco's reign. Really interesting thing that we haven't heard about, and they didn't really let anyone know about it until like the 80s and all that information came out. So that was really interesting. And then I have not read Salt to the Sea yet, but it's kind of a sequel to Between Shades of Grey and it has some related characters. And this one is about a ship, the Wilhelm Gustloff, that promises safety and freedom for a bunch of Jews, I think, who are fleeing Germany. And then the ship ends up sinking. So it's basically like the Titanic, but way worse. So I look forward to reading this one. Her books are super quick reads and really informative. So I love reading Ruta Sepetys books. Okay, only 3 more. So this one, Behind the Act by Abigail Clare. I actually got this one from someone on Instagram, offered to send it to me if I would read it and do a review of it. I'm always hesitant to do that just because who knows what kind of book it's going to be, but I did read the description of this one and it seemed like it would be a pretty interesting story, and she told me that it's a Christian book that actually has Christian influences in it and talks about Christ in there, so I'm excited to read this one. It's basically, so Tiffany Birch, she lives in a small town, she's getting stir crazy, so her town is going to be a filming location, and they need some talent, so she takes a leap to follow in her mother's footsteps as an actress. Tragedies from Tiffany's past and present seem to indicate the timing is right, and so she leaves everything from her boyfriend to her shelter dog, all for the dream of stardom. Yet as her success grows, so do her anxiety and disillusionment. As her rise to fame is jeopardized by yet another tragedy, Tiffany returns home. There she must unravel who she really is, the girl her town remembers, the face on the posters, or the still distraught woman behind the act. So it looks like a pretty good storyline, and I'm excited to see what kind of faith content it has in there. Hopefully the writing is pretty good, so I'll probably read this one pretty soon, just so that I can get that review up. And I'm excited to actually have a book sent to me. This was really cool to have book mail and not pay for it, and it's like this great condition published book. So I'm excited for this one. And then I got this one from Half Price Books, Our Darkest Night by Jennifer Robson. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I hated this book. And I will probably never read another popular historical fiction again because this was a terrible book. But basically it's about Italy during World War II and Jews, basically what they had to do to be safe during this time when all the Jews were being deported into Germany and all these horrible things that are happening, and they actually do end up going to some of the camps, and you're going to get to see the horribleness of that. But there's so many other books that show it better, and I certainly am going to be selling this book back, which is sad. So within a month I got it, and I'll probably sell it. But yeah, it has a pretty cover and a nice idea. Wasn't that great? And then the last one I got was actually from my library book sale, and I saw it and some of my family was like, oh, that's a cool book, and I thought, you know what, it's $1, why not just buy it? And it's called The Home Book of Music Appreciation. And so it goes through and talks about all these different music theories, which, if you don't know, I play piano, and I really enjoy music, and I took one in music appreciation class and loved that, just learning about the different time periods of music and different theory and stuff. I wasn't really trained in theory very much, so that's something that kind of fascinates me to learn about. And this was written in, let's see, 1940. So it's an old book, which just makes it even better and more interesting to read because they just wrote it differently because they expected people to be smart. So it goes through and has chapters on all these different parts of music. So the materials of music, you have pitch, dynamics, rhythm, melody, harmony, form. Then part 2 is its tools of expression, so the human voice, the pianoforte, the symphony orchestra, opera, ballet, then composers, talks about different composers, and I really look forward to reading this because it's almost like it's a textbook, but I know that it's going to be written in a pretty interesting way, having been written in the 1940s. So, you know, I might just pick this up and read a couple of parts of it, but it looks super interesting and something that I would really like. It's also falling apart, but I don't know. I think this looks really fascinating. Maybe I'm weird, but it looks like a book I would really enjoy. So there's my huge stack of books, it's gonna fall over, that I got just in the month of July. So I'll probably take a book from buying books for a while and, you know, maybe actually read some of the books that I have, because I have a really long want to read list and a stack just staring at me. So hopefully I'll get to some of those this month. Bad news is I still actually haven't finished Middlemarch, so it's going to be a while before I can get to a lot of these books, but I am really excited to actually have some fiction in my hands, because a lot of modern fiction, I listen to it instead of reading it, because I find that easier to read a classic and then listen to these newer books, because I don't know how good they're going to be, but I'm really excited to actually have real solid books in my hands, and pretty much all of these are fictional books. There's the one nonfiction. So I'm really looking forward to reading some of those. If you want to chat down in the comments, you can let me know what books you bought this month and if you've read any of these books and what your opinion on them are. And I can't wait to update you on what I think of all these books. So I'm so excited to be back, and I will see you next week. Bye!